with mostly family. When we got there, we were seated at a table with some other people. Nice people, and we mingled well and had a good time chatting. The wedding was also quite nice. Both my friend and his new wife were very happy. After the ceremony, every table got 2 bottles of wine, bread and butter, and there was also an open bar, so we started to have a few drinks. Then the food came out. It looked really good. The food was set up for a buffet. I was half buzzed and looking forward to getting some food in my belly. When it was time to eat, every few tables at a time were going to get called, which is fine. The first few tables that were called were understandably the family off both sides. The problem was that the family members, his in-laws, are larger people. Now, I don't shame people for how much they eat, but I noticed the helpings of food they had while I was patiently waiting for us to be called. I also noticed that they went for seconds before all the tables were called and no one stopped them. I didn't say anything, though I thought that was rude. I just assumed that there was going to be a lot of food. To my surprise, by the time that we were called, there was nothing left. I asked if there was more coming out, and apparently that already occurred. So we grabbed what little we could and went back to sit down and ate the scraps. We were all still pretty hungry and a bit pissed off, so we kind of bashed out that the first few tables ate all the food. Someone mentioned that they could go for some pizza, and then I had the drunken idea of ordering some. So that's exactly what we did. We all pitched in and ordered 4 large pizzas and some chicken wings from a local pizza joint close to the venue, so it didn't take long to be delivered. I met the guy outside and brought the food to our table, and we started to eat. Some of the other tables noticed and asked where the pizza came from. Apparently, some of the other tables close to ours didn't get any food either, so we shared with them. This caused some kind of commotion because the other people were looking for and asking for the wedding party if there was still pizza available. I guess there were others that didn't get to eat either. We did share with anyone who asked us. My friend came to talk to me about why I ordered the food. His bride was not happy about it. It ruined the aesthetics. So I told him that we didn't get to eat and that the food ran out long before our table was called and that we were all really hungry. He then asked why we didn't just step out and eat and come back. Though annoyed about that, I respectively explained to him that we were all drinking on an empty stomach and that it probably wasn't the best idea to have drunk people walking around looking for food. I don't think he liked that, but went back to his bride, who was glaring at us. Like, what are we supposed to do, starve? This wasn't the end though. As we finished eating, one of the in-laws came to our table and asked where the pizza came from. This is maybe where I was the a-hole. There were 2 slices left. I knew he was eyeing them. I asked other people at my table if they wanted one, and everyone declined. This guy then said he'd have one. I then took the 2 slices and put them on my plate and started to eat them, then looked at him and said something like, "No, you and everyone at your tables had way more than your fair share of the buffet and ate all of it. This is the reason that we ordered food in the first place, and now you have the nerve to ask us to share?" His face went red and he returned to his table. There was a lot of discussion going on there. They were all looking back at us with daggers. The bride looked even more ticked off at us. She had a bit of an argument with my friend. He eventually came back to tell us that we had to leave. I didn't mean to start any problems, so me and my wife called the cab and left. He called me a few days later and we had a long talk. I explained my perspective, and he agreed that his in-laws were really rude after eating all of the food and leaving most of the other guests with very little. A lot of people actually complained to him about it. Everyone was drinking, thinking that there would be food, and they were disappointed. He was upset with his in-laws because he told them how many guests would be there and to order food for that many people. He also saw how much they were taking but assumed that they ordered enough. He brought this up with his wife, and she said that apparently because his in-laws paid for the alcohol and food, they felt entitled to eat what they wanted. She was really mad at them and reamed them out for tainting her special day. He also said a lot of the other non-family guests started to leave soon after we left because they were too hungry. They still had fun celebrating, but it did kind of put a downer on their special day. Out of 70 people, about 30 left. I also found out that the guy who came to our table was the father-in-law. Father-in-law was really embarrassed by what I said to him. He felt pretty bad about when he found out close to half of the guests didn't get to eat anything and left early. So, am I in the wrong?
Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend she's not worth marrying after she said she didn't like her engagement ring? I've been approaching 2 years with my girlfriend, and things have gone pretty well so far. We've had some ups and downs, but we were doing well and talking about marriage. Now, here's a little bit about me. I work in healthcare, but due to the nature of my work, I have a decent amount of free time. I took up jewelry, metalworking, and started up a little side hustle making gold and silver jewelry, still working on my platinum skills. My dad also works in Brazil, and he cuts emeralds and precious and semi-precious gemstones. I knew I wanted to marry my girlfriend, and I wanted to make the engagement ring special. I made an elaborate leaf design ring with garnets, our birthstone, and a 1.5 carat diamond in the middle. I had my dad cut and send me garnets, and I ordered the diamond from a local dealer. I worked on the band and the setting, and over the course of 3 months, I put the ring together. It looked something like this, but with 2 big leaves of garnet on the side instead of emerald, without the smaller stones, and a marquee cut lab diamond in the center. It is easily the most elaborate piece I've ever designed and put together. I proposed to her at her house at a little get-together I put with her family, and she loved the ring, especially after I told her I made it myself. We had a nice party, and I spent the night. Later that morning, she asked me questions about the ring and how long I worked on it, etc. I told her all about it, but her expression changed when she asked how much I spent on it and that it was a lab diamond and not a natural diamond. I asked if the cost was an issue for her. She said that she doesn't feel like it was a big investment in our relationship. Total cost without labor was about $1,200. I didn't keep track. And she prefers real diamonds over lab diamonds. I tried to explain that they're chemically identical, but she asked if I could swap it out with a natural diamond. I relented and said sure and took the ring back. Driving home, I started to think about all the other times she demanded more of me, and I honestly thought that I don't think that anything I do will ever be enough for her. I could spend 3 months on an amazing ring for her, and she'll still nitpick and find fault in it. I think it just clicked in that moment that I had a lot more issues with this relationship than I imagined. I got home and I called her. She didn't pick up. I texted and said, quote, "We need to talk now." She called a couple of minutes later. I told her that I don't think she's worth marrying because of how she treated me over the ring, and that I need to think about things. She started crying and being defensive, but I was also very emotional and hung up. She tried calling back several times, but I just let it ring. Her mother and my sister, who's friends with her, tried calling, but I just let it ring. I don't want to talk to anyone. I really just need reassurance before I talk to them again. Am I being an asshole for this?
I'm not going to my best friend's wedding because she replaced me as her maid of honor. I've known my best friend, let's call her Kayla, since we were kids. Our moms were long-term friends, so when they were having daughters at the same time, they basically forced us to be friends, which worked out because we love each other. We went to the same schools growing up. Then we went to college together. We joined the same sorority. We lived together all 4 years. I mean, this girl is like my other half. We've also never been in a real fight in our entire friendship. We've bickered before because we were tired about dumb stuff, but it's always been over the next day. I will say, Kayla's fatal flaw is that she loves what's new and shiny. For example, when she started dating her now fiance in college, it was like her friends didn't exist anymore. We just stopped seeing her, and it's because she was so excited about her new relationship that all of her old friends, we were old news. She actually lost a lot of friends because of this, but I loved her so much, I stuck it out, and I just kept inviting her to hang out all the time and just appreciated the time she did say yes. She also has a habit of becoming best friends with somebody that she just meets, thinks they're like the best person in the world, is obsessed with them, plans trips with them, says that they're gonna be best friends for life, and then a month later, they just don't even talk anymore. And when I'm like, oh, what happened to so-and-so? She's like, oh yeah, I don't know, I haven't talked to her in a while. And then they never talk again. Like, it's not even like they have a falling out, she just becomes bored. When Kayla got engaged last year, excited was an understatement. We have been picturing our dream wedding since we were kids, and I was so excited to help her plan. But another thing about Kayla, her vision is a lot bigger than her budget. Kayla asked me to be her maid of honor, and as soon as I said yes, she started showing me the ideas she had for her wedding, and I had no idea what I got myself into by saying that I would help her with the decorations. I offered to help. I'm super crafty, and I knew that I could do a lot of those things for a lot less cost. And I even pitched in some of my own money for decorations that I was making because I love her and I wanted her wedding to be exactly how she dreamed it to be. So yeah, I have put in countless sleepless nights and over $1,000 buying and making decorations for her wedding. From posters to balloon art to literally everything. Here's where the problem starts. About 2 months ago, me and Kayla go to our friend's house party, and there we meet a new girl named Megan. Now, Megan was super cool, super nice, but for some reason, Kayla was obsessed with her. The whole way home, she was just talking about how amazing this girl was, how she's so smart, how she's so successful, how she like wants to be just like her, all of these things, which I was like, oh, here we go. It's gonna be a new month-long best friend. And I was right. Immediately, Kayla and Megan were hanging out all the time and never inviting me. I'm kind of like the person that's like more the merrier. I want my friends to all be friends with each other. So it was really weird to me when I would ask Kayla if she wanted to hang out on Thursday, and she was like, I'm already doing something with Megan. And I was like, oh, can I come? And she was like, no, it's kind of more of like a one-on-one thing. And slowly but surely, Kayla was taking longer and longer to respond to my texts. She wasn't answering my calls. She was always too busy, which, like, girl, you're not that busy. At first, I chalked it up to the wedding and that she was busy with that. But then I realized I was doing way more for her wedding than she was, and I still had time to hang out with her. And I realized she had all the time in the world to be hanging out with Megan. Like, they were hanging out all the time because she was always posting it on her social media. Last week, I finally sat down with Kayla after literally not seeing her for almost a month, even though I was trying all the time. And this is because her wedding was literally a month away and we needed to go over some final logistics. But during this conversation, she's looking really nervous. And finally, I'm like, girl, what is up with you? And she's like, I have to tell you something, but I don't want you to get upset, okay? And I was like, okay, what? And she goes, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I decided that I want Megan to be my maid of honor. And I was really taken aback, but at first I thought she meant like joint maid of honors, and I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever you want. And she was like, oh, great, so you're okay just being a bridesmaid? I was like, wait, you're not talking about, like, you want me out, kicked out, like, just bumped to the back of the line. And she was like, you know I love you so much, but like, at this time in my life, I just feel like Megan is my best friend in the world. And I was like, your best friend in the world? She was like, yeah, I've hardly even seen you the last few months. I'm like, oh, really? Really? You know what? Because I asked you to hang out, but you're always busy with Megan. And I guess maybe I've just been busy doing all of the decorations for your wedding. And she was like, yeah, and you know, I so appreciate that. And I love you. And that's why I'm so excited that you're going to be my wedding party. I was speechless. I was sitting there just like dumbfounded. And you know, this girl has done this to me my whole life. She's always finding a new friend, replacing me for a few months, and then when she gets bored of that friend, comes back to old reliable. But I need to know my worth. I always say it with men, but I guess I've never said it with friends, and especially when it comes to Kayla. And I know this was petty, but I look her right in the eye and I say, honestly, I don't really want to go to a wedding that's going to have no decorations. And her face falls because she knows that at my apartment, that's where all of her decorations for her wedding are. Like, I made 75, 80% of the decorations for her wedding. So without the stuff that I spent money on and put hours and hours into, she's just like not really going to have any decorations at all. She was like, oh my gosh, Kelsey, you would never do that to me. And I was like, well, I never thought that you would do this to me, but guess we're both mistaken today. Her entire family has been calling me non-stop about the decorations, not about what she did to me. No, they just really want these decorations. And I said, you can have them. You just have to pay for the cost that I spent on them, plus the time that I put into them. I told them that now Megan's her maid of honor, so if she wants help with the decorations, that is not my responsibility anymore. Now the wedding is quickly approaching and I am not budging. I'm not answering any of Kayla's calls or texts, mostly because they're all about the decorations. Like, she does not even care how much she hurt me. I love Kayla, but I'm not gonna be her doormat anymore. I don't know, maybe the holding the decorations hostage is a little much. Maybe I should just give them to her and let that be that, but I don't know. I spent so much time and money on those and she just threw me to the side like I was nothing. So it just doesn't feel right. Now, me and Kayla have a lot of the same friends. Again, because we literally grew up together, went to school together, like, we have all the same friends. So whenever they started hearing about what happened, a lot of them started saying that they weren't going to go to the wedding. And I want to make clear, I did not encourage this. I actually told them all that they should go and that just because she did this to me did not mean that they shouldn't go. But everyone's been sick of Kayla's behavior for a very long time. And I think this was just the icing on the cake for everybody. So 2 out of the remaining 5 of her bridesmaids dropped out of the wedding, and another 4 girls took back their RSVP and told her that they would no longer be going to the wedding. Again, I did not tell them to do that, but they're loyal. And obviously, I receive scathing texts from Kayla saying that she can't believe that I'd be so petty as to ruin her entire wedding. And I wasn't gonna respond, but I was not gonna be made to be the bad guy in this situation. And I told her that I didn't ask a single person to drop out. All I told them was what happened, and I actually encouraged them to stay in the wedding. She burned those bridges all on her own after years of treating her friends like they don't matter. And then I blocked her. I felt bad doing it, but she was sending me 10 to 15 texts a day asking for these decorations. Like, girl, if you spend as much time making the decorations as you do trying to guilt me into giving them back, you would have a fully decorated wedding by now. For a few days, it was quiet. It was peaceful.